This conference will now be recorded. This
We will
conference
be
will
handling
now
the
be
third part
recorded.
of our webinar on planning and scheduling. So if any of you are not able to hear, kindly send us a message, so that we can sort it out. So I will start the session now. So I will talk a little bit about myself. I'm a postgraduate from VIT University Vellore, and so I'm currently a doctoral research scholar at IIT Madras. So my area of interest is in planning and scheduling. So I also work with mostly work with AIC International.
Slides are not visible.
Now I think someone's mic is switched on. So I suggest that I request that person to switch off the mic so that we don't have any stop.
Srinath, please share your slides. We can't see your slides.
I'm a postgraduate from VIT University Vellore. So I'm currently a research scholar at IIT Madras. So the next speaker will be Mr. Nambiyappan. So he's a postgraduate from NICMA, and he has around 14 years of experience in industrial, commercial, and infrastructure projects. And earlier, he has also worked with several contracting and consulting companies, including CCCL, Lyra in Dubai, and Saudi Parsons and Fabs. So currently, he's a senior manager project controls at Carly Infra Private Limited, and he is also a certified planning and scheduling professional from AAC International. And he also he's also working with the AAC as a treasurer of AAC India section. The third speaker today would be Mr. Shankar. So he's CEO of Chief Operating Officer of Carly Infra Private Limited, and he's a director of our Asia Pacific region AAC International. The last section will be handled by him. So just to give an outline of today, so we will first talk about a little bit of schedule quality and what is the status of quality of construction project schedules, and what are the schedule quality assessment methods that we have currently in the industry. And second part will be handled by Mr. Nambiyappan. So he will be talking about cost and schedule integration, external schedule integration, and schedule maintenance. The last part, the desirable programming conditions and attribute behaviors, will be handled by Mr. Shankar. So just to give a background on scheduling. So scheduling as such has a very rich history, which dates earlier. So a critical path method was one of the very prominent scheduling tools, which was developed by Morgan Walker and James Kelly of DuPont Company. And subsequently, a lot of scheduling techniques are available today, like PERT, location-based management system, critical chain project management system, etc. There are a lot of scheduling tools that are available. But among the scheduling tools that are available, the precedence diagramming method is a prominent and prevalent scheduling technique currently in the construction industry. It's a very popular technique, given that it is represented in popular commercial softwares like Oracle Primavera and Microsoft Project. So these are the top two construction scheduling software available today. There are many more softwares, but these are the top two. And you know, its history is could be traced back to Professor John Fondal of Stanford University. And you know, the seminal works of Professor John Fondal and some European researchers like Roy and IBM should be given credit for the development of this technique. And PDM as such as a very plays an important role in other areas also, for like delay analysis. It is also accepted in certain judiciary courts for claims and delay analysis, those sort of things. And PDM as such is also taught as a very fundamental course in postgraduate construction management and project management programs around the world. So given the little bit of background on PDM, so here is an interesting correlation between the quality of a PDM schedule and project completion. So this you know, this resource they have used 35 schedules, and they checked the quality of a PDM schedule and the corresponding project completion date. So all these are construction project schedules. The interesting correlation that comes is that schedules which have PDM schedules which had a good schedule quality actually finished on time, and vice versa. So which schedules which did not have a good quality actually did not finish on time. Of course, this is a correlation. This is not a causation. There are a lot of factors that are involved in you know, in achieving the planned completion time. But nevertheless, this correlation shows that schedule quality is a very important aspect in the project completion time. So of course, there are other anecdotal evidences which says that a well-developed updated CPM or PDM schedule will contribute to project finishing on time. So given the importance of schedule quality, so let's go to the definition of what is a schedule. What is a quality schedule? So GAO Schedule Assessment Guide, which is a popular guide for schedule quality, states that a good schedule should have 4 characteristics. It should be comprehensive. That is, it should cover all the activities defined in the WPS. It should cover the needed scope of the work. It should encompass all resources, and it should allow for discrete progress measurement with proper durations. The second attribute of a quality schedule would be the schedule should be well constructed. So activities should be logically sequenced with predecessor and successor logic. Unnecessary use of complicated logic like start to start and finish to finish or start to finish relationship should be avoided as much as possible. And a critical path that determines activities that driving the earliest completion date. The critical path should be clearly identified, and the total flow should be supportive of the schedule's flexibility, to reflect the schedule's flexibility accurately. The other aspect of a schedule quality is that it should be credible. So it should have the proper sequence necessary to achieve the targeted scope of work, and it should have a different level of detail of activity, such as supporting activities, sub-activities, etc. That is, the schedule should have an adequate level of detail, and overall the team should have a good, you know, after developing the schedule, the schedule should sort of give a sort of a confidence building measure in achieving the project completion date. And then necessary risks and contingency should also be taken into account. And the other aspect of quality schedule is the schedule should be controlled. So in the sense that the schedule should be updated regularly, it should be status using the actual dates, and it should be compared against a baseline schedule to determine the variances. And it should also be accompanied by a schedule documentation, schedule narrative documentation on what is the planned schedule, what is the planned schedule, and what is the actual dates, so on comparison between the both, and it should be clearly documented. So these are the 4 different characteristics of good quality schedule. Given this definition, but in reality, in practice, there are a lot of issues, quality issues that a PDM schedule goes through, particularly in construction projects. A lot of literature points that schedules are often subjected to logic abuse and manipulation, and scheduling professionals commit a lot of mistakes, and that dilute the effectiveness of carefully constructed PDM schedule. Some schedules are poorly neglecting poorly built, neglecting best practices. and the software is widely abused to produce bad schedules that may look good, but really in reality it is very far away from the reality. And an interesting debate that happened on the existential question of PDM. The debate concluded that the quality of a PDM schedule has not improved from 2003. This debate, notably, this debate happened in 2013. But then the quality of schedule has not increased over the last 15 or 20 years. And schedule often contains unintentional error and conflicts. So a lot of logic issues, critical path errors, and those sort of errors these PDM schedules encounter in construction projects. And this sort of debate has been going around for the last 15 to 20 years. And ultimately, what happens is that the effectiveness of a schedule really gets gets out of thrown away, and people say that the schedules are useless. They are just only done for the contractual purpose, and they don't really serve the purpose, etc., etc. So here is an interesting graphic which shows that a scheduling engineer actually meticulously sits and works, and he determines the resources, dependencies. He says that it took him 2 weeks to make sure that we are not wasting time. But then when he presents it to the project team, he says that some team members say that some dependencies are wrong. The activity duration estimation is the method of activity duration estimation is differing from other person's perspective. So they have been using random numbers. So the planner concludes that he will have to redo the whole plan. So this is a very typical scenario that happens in a construction project. So I came across this interesting graphic, so I thought I'd share it with all of you. And another survey that was done on quality of construction project schedules, which indicates, as evident from the pie chart, this indicates that a sizable number of schedules are not reviewed, or it is only reviewed by someone internal to the project. It is not reviewed by a proper standard or a proper rigorous schedule quality assessment method. So this is the typical scenario that happens in construction project schedules or in many construction projects around the world. So little bit of why this sort of schedule quality issues happen. So I will touch a little bit on that. If you look at the literature, the literature says 2 main reasons for quality issues in PDM schedules. One is the development, the way the PDM developed over the period of years. Another is that the incorporation of advanced features in scheduling software. So I will get into details of little bit of details on that. So particularly, if you can see from the timeline, PDM schedules were actually developed somewhere around during the 1960s. Particularly during that period, what happened was that the availability of computers were actually on very high demand. During that time, the mainframe computers were actually used to do the scheduling part. It was not unlike today, where we have a ready-made scheduling software which does all the scheduling calculations and gives us the result. But on the other days, the constraint was that availability of computers, because the mainframe computers were very slow, and it would take around 1 or 2 days to compute the critical part of one small simple PDM schedule. So what they had to do was that the construction projects employed a lot of good schedulers who are actually very good in manually calculating the PDM schedule. So as a result of that, they would manually calculate the PDM schedule. They would do the necessary activities, etc., etc., and they would feed on that information to the mainframe computer. The mainframe computer will give the result. So they can't afford to make mistakes in this process, because if they make a process, then again they have to sit for 1 more day or 2 to compute the schedule calculations, because the computers were very slow during that time. As a result of that, the outcoming skill set of schedulers were actually very strong. They were very strong in fundamentals and practical and theoretical aspects of PDM. So there was one particular niche group of schedulers who are very skilled in PDM scheduling, and they were very adept at incorporating the practical site constraints and also doing realistic schedules. But as computers evolved during the 1970s, 80s, this is during the mainframe era, the mini computers, personal computers, etc. there was a lot of developments in the scheduling software, and the computing power also increased in parallel. So the scenario, how the scenario changed was that now people can do sit and do scheduling on one place, and they can feed all the information inside the schedules, and they can the software will give us a sort of a schedule output. So what has happened was that there was a change in the skill set, because everyone started learning scheduling only from the scheduling software, largely ignoring the theoretical part of PDM scheduling or the practical part of PDM scheduling. And the people that were hired to do scheduling were also sort of freshers who did not have good experience in practical aspect of scheduling, or people who were hired were actually learned scheduling, PDM scheduling from the software. So what happened was that there was a loss of scheduling skills that happened during this time, and the quality of the resulting quality of PDM schedules really plummeted down. So this is one possible explanation for poor quality schedules in construction projects. Other possible explanation from the literature is that as research in one side, the software was very powerful. They started developing very powerful software, capable software. On the other side, there was also some operations research, mathematical group research that were working in this PDM problems. So this was perceived as a mathematical problem. It's containing different constraints, etc., etc. A lot of papers were published, and some of those advanced features were actually incorporated into the commercial. What?
Srinath, please consider slowing down a little bit. A lot of comments are coming on the speed, please.
Okay. So as a lot of research happened in the academic area of PDM scheduling, some of the advanced scheduling concepts were incorporated into the commercial scheduling software without the practical need of it. So there was a peer pressure competition between commercial scheduling software providers. So because of that, a lot of software providers started incorporating advanced scheduling concepts such as multiple calendars, constraints, etc., to the PDM scheduling software. So what this happened was that this actually complicated the PDM scheduling. So nobody could understand what is happening inside the software. And one more thing is that this software, some software provided the calculation methods, but some software did not provide calculation methods. What sort of algorithm they use? How do they calculate early start, early finish? What is the assumption, etc.? How does the software take in binary numbers, and how do they calculate compute the calculations, etc., etc.? Were not revealed. So essentially, the software became sort of a black box where the information is fed in, but what is happening inside the software, no one knows, and only people that people knew was that the output came, and they were not able to make sense of the output that came out of the scheduling software. So because of that, the quality of schedules really plummeted. This is another possible explanation. So in order to counteract and avoid all these schedule quality issues, this was a very big problem during the 1990s, 2000s until now. So a lot of institutions started developing standards, guides, and best practices to avoid the schedule quality issues in construction projects. So a couple of certain number of guides were actually standards and guides were developed to check the quality of schedule. So I've shown some of the guides here. So the first guide was the PMI practice standard for scheduling. So they provided uniform terminology for schedule components, because the software used a different terminology. The site per person used a different terminology for CPM scheduling. This standard brought about uniformity in the terminology of scheduling, and they also developed something called a performance index, where users of the standard could actually have a checklist where they could check all the necessary components that are required inside a PDM schedule, and they could evaluate the quality of their PDM schedule in respect to the checklist. So next guide is the GAO schedule assessment guide. This is developed by the US Government Accountability Office. This guide is mandatory for all the US government federal projects. So this guide contains 10 best practices that is listed. And also, in order to check all these best practices, whether they are incorporated in the construction project PDM schedule or not, they have a sort of a qualitative and a quantitative assessment metrics and key questions. Qualitative, quantitative assessment is provided. So this is a very good guide for practitioners to check the quality of a schedule. Other guide is the schedule maturity model. So this contains the necessary processes that are there inside scheduling, and whether the schedule is conforming to the contract, what is the maturity of the contract, contractual aspect of scheduling, whether the software is capable, or whether the software is so complicated, is there interoperability issues between the software. So those sort of maturity models are presented, and users tick mark their practice maturity in respect to these maturity levels, and they can check whether what is the level of maturity they are and what is the next level of maturity they should achieve in that particular process. So this was developed in the UK, developed by Association of Project Management. So this is again a very interesting standard to check the quality of schedule. Similarly, I think US Navy also developed the guide called Center for EBM Analysis Toolkit. Again, this provides a qualitative assessment for schedules. Next, the IMS Master Scheduling Guide was developed by the US Department of Defense. It provides a consistent philosophy to IMS development. Similarly, NASA, which is a space agency, also has a schedule quality assessment handbook. So it intends to provide schedule management. It intends to improve the schedule management by providing recommended concepts, processes, and techniques. And it also has a schedule health check, which is essentially a schedule quality check on schedule status, tasks, milestones, and logic, etc. The next standard is DCMA 14-point assessment. This is a very popular standard in the United States. So they have listed around 14 points that a good quality schedule should have. And this schedule check provides quantitative numbers on what is the quality of a schedule. So it measures key aspects such as wrangling activities, open-ended activities, hard constraints, leads, lags, floats, critical paths, etc. It checks the correctness of all these schedule technical aspects. Next would be the planning and scheduling excellence guide. So it was developed by National Defense Industrial Authority, which is again a US governmental organization. They have defined the quality of a schedule in a much more detailed manner. I mean, the schedule should have, the quality schedule should possess completeness, traceability, transparency, predictability, usability, resource controllability, and they have additional metrics to check the quality of schedules as well. So it would be very interesting to look at all these guides. The last guide would be the NAVAIR Integrated Master Schedule Guidebook. So it was developed by US Navy ACTAMAN system, and it provides guidance on IMS preparation, best practice of schedule development and maintenance. Again, this is another guide which could be referred for checking the quality of schedule. Apart from guides, there are also certain scheduling add-ins that could be used to check the quality of schedule. So I have listed about 7 schedule quality software. In that, the second software, Acumen Fuse, is a standalone software. Others are added to the commercially available scheduling software like MS Project and Primavera. So Acumen Fuse is standalone software. It has around 500 metrics, and the users can also customize this schedule quality metrics and run their schedules to check the quality of their schedules. So these are the list of software that are available. So some of the software are free. See, except Acumen Fuse, other software I think people can download and use do a free trial and check the quality of their schedule. And one more point that here to be noted is that even though these schedules provide, these checks provide quantitative numbers, it is up to the schedule users to check and align these metrics and metric threshold limits according to your requirement. So these are all not, some of these things are not peer reviewed. So there's no right and wrong approach. But this approach, this schedule quality should be used as a starting point to check the evaluate the quality of schedules. There are a lot of nitty-gritties that one can explain and one can develop a rationale to check the quality of schedules. But again, without as a starting point, this schedule quality software could be used to check the quality of schedules. I think practitioners can make use of this schedule quality software to check the quality of schedule, to see where the schedule stands, and maybe do a sort of delta improvement and keep improving the quality of schedule. So with this I conclude my part of presentation. The next part of presentation will be handled by Mr. Nambiappan.
Yeah, Srinath, can you change me as the presenter?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Is it visible, Srinath?
Yeah. I'm not able to see your screen. Yeah, I am able to see your screen.
Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. So before I start, hi everyone. Before I start, I just wanted to recap what's happening in the planning and scheduling part 1 and 2. So this is actually followed by Srinath has given the different shape between the planning and scheduling, and he has also touched upon the fundamental on the CPM. Also, he has also suggested some of the study material for recommended study guides for the planning and scheduling on the first day, part 1 session. And next, Bhaji also took on this integrated master plan as well as the integrated master schedule architecture. Also, she covered the schedule modeling techniques. There are 12 techniques she has also explained with the examples in the previous sessions. Now, Srinath covered the schedule assessment. Now, I'm going to take care of this cost and schedule resource integration. So basically, as the definition, if we see, so the process that links cost and schedule system data to ensure traceability and consistency between the systems. So here, what I'm going to explain is that both schedule as well as cost, if it is handled in one single system, you'll be able to trace easily. But when it is handled, both are in a different system. So what are the things we need to also handle, and what are the checkpoints we need to take in care when we integrate both in a single system also. Okay. So before I start, I just wanted to give a quick example. So generally, if you consider this as a small project with the 6 activities with the duration of minimum days, and generally we develop the network, and the outcome of this network will be like this. Basically, our critical path lies in the A, C, E as well as the D. Since it's a simple network, since it is a simple network, we'll be able to draw in either manually, or nowadays we have tools, so we will be able to create in a tool. Now, when we add the cost into it, okay, when we add into the cost into it, then obviously we will also look for, okay, what is the cost for each and every activity when they begin and end, how it is going to be distributed also. So if I put this one as in a simple form, like in a bar chart, if I put it, all these activities are represented like this sequentially. Okay, so when I distribute the costs, here I have distributed linearly for each and every individual activity to give a quick explanation on this. Okay, so then in a day base, you will be able to also find out in every day how much you are going to spend based on the sequence of the activities. So the third representation will be in the chart. Okay. So now since we have a very simple activity and simple project, so we'll be able to do it in a very quicker way. If I prepared it basically within the Excel itself. So if we have a very, the volume of activities is more, and one is the development of the activities with the schedule, developing a network diagram. You probably will be looking for, nowadays we have a tool. But early 1950s and 60s, what Srinath has told, people used to do it in the paper and the pen, and they used to draw manually, and every activities they used to have develop the network diagram. When one paper is finished, they used to take the second paper, then they used to do the continuous work. If there is one error happen, then obviously they need to do the redraw and the recorrect the entire network diagram. So nowadays, what will happen as we move forward? Okay, we have developed. There are so many technology, and the tools are developed. So the point is, when we are using the tool also, then we also need to understand what are the limitations on the tool, whether all the principles are applied is the primary role as any planner, as a scheduler who is handling both schedule as the cost integration. Okay. So I have also referred some of the study material here from planning and scheduling excellence guide. So there are three methods of handling resources being suggested. Like resources in the schedule is native field method, resources in the schedule static or non-native field method, and resources not in the schedule. So in this session, I will touch upon only this native field method. It's not a big thing. Generally, we all would have followed all practitioners, and for young professionals also, I will just give with the. Okay. So before we start, there are key components to cost as well as schedule integration. So basically, our time phasing of BCWS. BCWS is a budgeted cost work schedule that are the planned value. In the cost system, we also need to ensure that is based on the baseline period what is mentioned in the our scheduling system. So that need to be aligned both as well as the cost as well as the schedule system. Then next is the end value, or BCWP is the budget cost work performed. Also, the performance claimed till that period as well as the remaining cost or estimate to complete period performance. Also, we should be able to trace between the your schedule system as well as the cost system. And the third will be resource categories and quantities match within the IMS. So that means if the schedule, if you load the resource also, if we are added the quantities as well as manpower also, if we add.
Thambi, you're not audible clearly.
Also,
so your voice is not audible.
Even I wanted to say the same thing.
You match with the IMS timeline. So basically, the three component is.
Sir, can you keep the mic a little bit closer?
On, schedule as. Yeah. Is it audible now?
Very less, sir.
Yeah. So this method of resource loading basically uses the native schedule fields. When I use when I say native schedule fields, basically in the scheduling tool, you would have seen the start as well as the finish dates, resource names, or work or cost field. That we call it as the native schedule fields. Now I'll also show the sample in the subsequent slides. And also when I say time-phased resource distribution, when I say, so there are certain more options on the level spread or curve course or manual phasing also is available in the scheduling tool itself. So I'll show one of the sample here, which is coming now, like you are distributing of your cost or the resource in the time phase scale. There are quite a few work contours available in one of the tool, like flat. If you are going to distribute evenly, then you will be able to use the flat, or based on the experience or how it is going to be measured in the ground level, or the effort how we are going to put it in the ground level. So accordingly, we will be able to assign the either backloaded, front loaded, double peak, early peak, late peak, as well as the turtle curve. So this can be used based on the activity and depends on the experience we have got it. So if both this native field method also eliminate as per the additional software. And is easy in the market, will be able to see there are quite a few software available for specifically more and deep in the schedule, as well as some of the software more in deep in the handling the cost also. So if we have both tools together, then we don't need additional software for time-based resource quantities as well as the cost. So here I'm giving an example of that native field methods. So basically, we are seeing start, finish, as well as the resource name, which is available here. And the second one is the native field example for the another one, work, start, finish. So basically, when we give these data, so automatically our time-based resource information is coming in the right side. So this is one of the important area which I would like to say, calculation. Yeah, calculation related business rules and settings used in each scheduling application are understood and applied appropriately at the task and resource levels. When I say here, I mean the user should be able to understand when we give certain inputs how this outcome is coming from the tool, any tool whichever we are using it. Because there, nowadays, whenever we using the tool, there are certain limitations even from the basic fundamental itself. I'll give one more example from the scheduling perspective. What is the limitation in one of the tool? See, I think all are able to see a small project like excavation, pipe laying, and filling is the activity. Because I think for EPS 6 days, we are actually starting this activity, and the next activity will start after the 2 days of the previous activity started. And the same expectation when it is finished also, it will finish after the first activity is finished. Similarly, it will go for the third activity also. But when I generate this schedule, then obviously we will be saying there is an incomplete logic. Incomplete or a dangling logic, we'll call it as, because the first 3 activities are interlinked in terms of the finish event. So when we try to do is in the tool, because this is basically a precedence diagram. As per the precedence diagram, we need to close even start as well as the finish also. Even if we go the activity or not, it's generally a finish to start for every activity. But when I use this precedence diagram method, it should be linked all together. Otherwise, it will be an incomplete logic. But the same logic when I apply it into the tool, probably all would have been seen here. So 1SS plus 2 days and the 1FF plus 2 days. The first activity also I'm trying to link with the finish to finish. But the tool does says there is a problem linking these tasks. You cannot link the producer task twice to the same successor task. So that is the limitation of this tool. But when I try with another tool, I'll be able to connect all these 3 tasks even with the finish event also. So what I'm trying to, this is the one example I'm giving. The similar way, whenever we do certain giving an input to the certain tools, we also ensure that that outcome also is coming the way it's supposed to come in, whether it is aligned with the basics, fundamental, and other thing. So that is the intent of this previous slide to explain to all of you. Okay. So next I will quickly touch upon this external schedule integration. See, external schedule integration, before I started, probably young professionals, generally what happens when we awarding a project, I mean, it depends on the organization where you work. If you work for owners or contractor, or if it is in the consultant also, anybody will have their to do the work. Either they will have main contractor or subcontractor. There will be multiple contracts. That depends on the packaging as well as the organization strategy. There will be a multiple contractors. So generally, people, the organization will have, or the project will have the own schedule. As and when the vendors on board, they will also submit their schedule, which will be incorporated into the main schedule. So that's where that schedule integration starts. So that actually sequentially it will go for as and when the other vendors also on board. To at any point of time, we see where are we standing in terms of the timeline completion as well as the cost also. So basically, before we approach this one, it is required a very disciplined process between the organization involved to ensure the seamless incorporation contractor schedule. Here, the contractor means it's main contractor as well as the subcontractor schedule also. Also, it is the most comprehensive approach and maybe more suitable for high risk or complex schedule. Yeah, so as a practitioner, even if it's a smaller project, also they can start practicing it because that will help in the future when they're handling a more complex schedules. So this process starts with your contractual flow down requirement. Basically, the scheduling requirements to the contract needs to be clearly defined because it needs to be an acceptable format. When we have when we have multiple contractors, if they are doing a different tools, but basically we need to define them. What are the fields we will be looking for? So that fields needs to be data fields needs to be defined. What formats it is required, and what is the calendar we are following, and what they are following. That that needs to be incorporated. And the resourcing and tools, settings, and options, that are also one of the important things, because when we do export and import the schedule data, it needs to talk each other. So this is one of the key point we need to consider. And the second point is status dates. That should be consistent between the contractors and suppliers as well as the other stakeholders also when they give the report back. Generally, we hear a monthly report when we get back. We keep them as a 25th is the cutoff date when they have to close their data collection, as well as they have to update the schedule, as well as they have to report back also. So that standardization, if it is there, also it's well and good. If something, if you are not able to do it, if they have the contractors, they have a different status date also. But at least we need to understand. All parties also should understand. Yes, there is a different dates, but also need to know that the impacts when we project the dates because of the varied status date. But over the period of time, if we when we move the standardization, then probably we can also bring other stakeholders also in a one common platform. Then third point is setting up your expectation regarding schedule quality, the subcontract. That is also one important thing. Then the next is the change control procedures are established and understood. Okay, not every changes needs to be look for schedule changes, or do we need to before incorporating any changes in the schedule, that needs to be a formal workflow. So that also needs to be established, and it should be understood by the other contract. So I'll give maybe a small example. This is how we develop the IMS. So initially, when the engineering and design phases is starting, during the concept and schematic design, or generally when the board says yes, we need to start this project with the basic information when it is available. So we prepare a rough cut schedule. So rough cut schedule will give the detailed information on how this engineering and design will be handled, and the procurement of procurement, when I say appointment of consultant as well as the contractor. And the construction will be a very broad timeline, because the initial project of the time we may not know we may not detail out what are the activities and how it is going to be performed, but we will have a very broad level of activities, and with that we will start the project. As we move forward, when the design development stage mature, then obviously we'll go for the tendering the main contract, probably a civil contractor. So at that time you will have some more clarity on how the scope is going to be. That scope will develop further detailed schedule for this particular package. If it is going to be a civil package, the civil package or breakdown structure activities will be detailed out. There will be a development of the schedule with the respective control managers and the main contractor on board. So with the discussion with them, we will conclude the schedule. So that schedule will be incorporated into our rough cut schedule. When we incorporate that point of time, we will call this as the IMS or 00 baseline. So the similarly, it will go for, it can be done for other vendors on board. So here, I'll just show you one quick example here, rough cut schedule. And I say here, I'm just showing a very broad level. That means I'm not showing here the design as well as the procurement here. Directly I'm coming to the construction, because this is the very broad level. It is in the very initial stage. When the main civil vendor on board, what will happen? This mass execution, yeah, probably would have been done, and maybe majority of the work is done. Remaining some amount of work is there. The other activities we will actually inactive, because the main civil vendor works, we have by the time when he is on board, we would have detailed out what all the activities he is going to perform, and whatever the duration earlier we have considered here, that will be broken down to very manageable level. So I'm just showing very one or two WBS level only, but there is a detailed schedule available. Okay, so once the, how it will be done? So by changing your not changing, removing some of the links which is not reliable to here, not appropriate here, and we will give the proper relinking also. I will show to give a better understanding. I will probably go with the one of the network example, so that it is easy to give understanding to everybody. So this is a basic small project. I know the A and B activities will have a very smaller durations, that is known, and the CDF has got a higher duration. That means I'm considering this as a part-time effort. Okay. So now, So now this C, after one point of time, I also know how many days it is going to be taken, and how many detailed activities it will be there, and how detailed I will be able to make it. So this is the one. C1 to C7, I'm detailing out these activities. You can consider as that civil activities, what I have shown the earlier. So this C1 to C7, these all detailed out. And I'm just putting the same network diagram in a slightly different format. Okay, so I'm bringing this all my detailed activities which I have done outside of the system. So what I'm doing it, when I know the B2C, whatever originally I have given the link, I'm actually delinking it. I'm actually relinking it. So B2C. The similar way, C to D and E, the successor has gone. I'm removing those successor and I'm relinking it to C to D. So once this is done, yeah, probably the network is fully connected here. That means it will go through whatever that the detailed schedule which is prepared by the external vendor has been incorporated here. So what happened with this C? So that I'm taking it out, I'm probably considering this as a activity which is, I'm keeping this as an inactive because no longer I'm going to use this one. So this way you'll be able to integrate your schedule, any vendor schedule, a consultant or contractor. So I'm just keeping the slide again to give some more understanding. So the civil work originally was very broad when I bring it in the rocket schedule, and when the main civil vendor on board, I'm inactivating the activities which is not going to be applicable, and I'm introducing the main civil vendors schedule here. Yeah. So next is the schedule maintenance. Schedule maintenance basically start with the status into time now, forecasting, schedule acceleration techniques, and estimated completion. So right now in this session, I will focus only on this status into time because of the time constraint. Okay. So, generally, if you see there are quite a few tools. Some tool they may call as a time now, or some tool that may be a status date or a data date. Okay, so what are the when you do the status into time now, what are the key questions I'm going to ask? So there'll be 6 questions to answer it. So if the task started and when did it start? So we need to capture this date in the IMS as the actual start date. If the task did not start, when will it start? Okay. So here when it comes to the suggestion given is here is capture this date in the IMS by add/update a producer or add the forecasted start date as a soft constraint. So this will go for some of the discussion also, because when I interact with some several professionals, they are saying sometimes they don't change the producer or successor link. They'll keep it as the base link. So that is also one requirement from the, if it is a contractual requirement, you go as it is, you don't change it. But when it is really required, take a discussion with either the relevant stakeholders and add appropriately, as well as update the sequence of the activities also. Some of the areas where you may not be able to find the right producer of this activity. If I mean, as we move forward, if you find anything, the recommendation is give the soft constraint so that you will be able to give the reliable forecast. And the next point is the task finished. When did it finish? Yeah, so we need to capture this date in the IMS as the actual finished. Okay, then the fourth is if the task did not finish, how much duration is required to finish it? Yeah, capture this date in the IMS by adjusting the task remaining duration or by entering the forecast finish date. So this calls for several discussion. Maybe the remaining duration when it comes in, it will be based on the past performance of this particular activity, required for some of the productivity of this productivity of the manpower and how many people we are going to allocate. It will go for several discussion. We need to take it consciously with the respective package as well as the control local managers also taken into the confident, and accordingly we need to update this also. And what is the percent complete of the task? Yes, we need to capture this element IMS as the percentage complete. Yeah, some of the for resource loaded tasks, how many hours are expected to be expanded to complete the scope of the work? Yeah, here also we need to capture this value by updating and remaining resources, and this will represent the estimate to complete for this task. The resource may be a labor, which will be maybe a different trade and a different based on the package we can update as long as if we are maintaining the scheduling system. Yeah, I think with that I think I will finish my part, and also I do before I just give one example here where what are the problems will happen when we update the schedule. See here probably the green line probably it's a very light line. So here the green line is saying this is the status date. But when we see here, the actual finish when we enter here, it's 9th January. So this may not be not the recommended practice when we project the schedule, because this will lead for around the forecast date also. So when we update the schedule, this sort of check also we need to do it. Any activities we have given as actual dates after the status date. And the similar way, another example here is, here also is the status line here, whereas it is somewhere in the January 2020, but whereas there is an entry on the actual date is 16/4/2021. So that means we are actually confirming some past date, sorry, not the past date, the future date as confirming as the actual date. So that also shouldn't be happen. So these sort of quality checks when we statusing, we also need to do it. And one more thing is that out of sequence logic error. So here if we see, there is a finish to start logic being applied for the second activity. What happened? There is an actions also applied here. What happened? That there is an error here, because still the logic is kept here as a finish to start. So those logic and all we can be modified as per they say that it can be a finish to finish. So with that, I mean, the credits and acknowledgement we wanted to give it to AAC International, because there are certain information we have taken it from AAC International website. That is a free study material to all the people, because there are quite a few guidelines or RPs. You will be able to get it as a few pages as a sample. Even TCM also it is available. PSD, all the guides are available even in the internet. Some of the pages are free. And also we give a credit to IDMS and NDA is Planning and Scheduling Excellence Guide. The study materials, whatever we have, some of them represented in our slides have been taken from here. Also a GAO schedule assessment guide is also one of the good guide for the schedule assessment. The practitioner, my recommendation all the practitioners to go through. They will actually really feel that the depth knowledge on this schedule assessment. Also, we also give acknowledgement to credit and acknowledgement to Corlane Private Limited. What are the practical examples represented in our 3 sessions? Some of them are referred from our the organization. With that, I will give to Mr. Sankar to take the last part.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes,
Now
sir,
you
we
have come
hear
to
you,
the
sir.
closure of this session. Yeah, now you have come to the closure of this session, and I'll not take much time. I think that will, we are already close to 9 o'clock, and I'll take maximum 5 minutes, and we'll open it up for 5-10 minutes session. See, yeah, I think I would request all of you to mute the mic. See, even if we have study, planning, scheduling, and go so deep into it, but in many organizations, what happens when we go to the ground? There are a lot of challenges for all these things to.
For the slides.
Hello, I would request all of you to mute the mic. Yeah, hello. Yeah, so I would request all of you to mute your mic, right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So the challenge is in when you go to the ground in many places we are not able to implement whatever we have planned and whatever we have studied, what we consider as a good practice. We are not able to make things happen on the ground. So what is the real reason? If you go and closely and see, there are certain, that's why I thought I will just put it as a desirable programmatic conditions and on attributing behaviors. I mean, unless otherwise these things are all in a place. When as an as a youngster, when if you don't, or if as an organization, if it doesn't adopt, then it could be very challenging. It could be very challenging or extremely challenging for the people, to implement, to have a very robust schedule control process in an organization. Right. First of all, it should be schedule management should be a process should be well documented and should be completely understood, and it should be understood by all the relevant people. And also the next is about the skill of the staff, right? If the people now have to work with an integrity. In fact, a wrong reporting should be it's an offense, according to me, because a lot of decision makers take decisions based on the data what has been presented, right, by the planner and scheduler. And also they should be on a forward thinking, and also they should anticipate the schedule delays. It should not be like a very reactive. It should be a very proactive approach. And the organization should have an there should be a PMO which should completely support the development and management of a schedule. If it lacks, then at the ground level, people may not be able to get this the right expertise to to have a proper planning and scheduling and management at the ground, and also enforcing a strict compliance and honesty in reporting, which is one of the most important thing, and ownership and accountability by all the stakeholders. And the another thing is it's not a schedule terms is not the thing which is understood by only 2 or 3 people, right? It should be understood by the entire organization. So an organization should invest time, energy on making everybody in the complete chain understand the schedule, importance of schedule, the terminology, so that all are at one page, right? And also another thing is about having an achievable plan, not very aspirational plan. Durations are properly supported by the complete resources, right? And not just a date or a duration which is somebody dictates. And also the metrics, you have whatever the metrics you develop, whether it is let's say simply an SPI or a CPI or a BEI or a TSPI or whatever it is, they are here to influence a positive behavior on the ground rather than to punish people. And variances, if you think variances will not be there, then we are wrong. Variances will be there, and if variances are not there, it's a major problem, because things won't go as planned in a project. So variances provide a very valuable management insight. So the variances should be treated as a positive thing, not as a negative thing. And what are the undesirable programmatic conditions, right, in an organization which might, prevent a proper use of, your planning and scheduling? First of all, is a lack of stakeholder involvement. I mean, everybody, all the stakeholders need to be taken into, confidence. And, if it is not, and especially the top management buy-in, if it is not there, it will not be. Then it will be only for the purpose of reporting and, other thing. And the lack of management involvement, which will be, there won't be an accountability and a ownership in an organization. And second is a poor quality control of the schedule. It's not about just schedule, have a tool, develop some schedule, and when it throws some results which nobody is able to interpret. Right. That's why Srinath has focused a lot on the quality of the schedule. Right. Whether the quality of in building the schedule, or even in when you are maintaining and updating the thing, and non-manipulation of schedule data to support the political ends. This happens in many places, many organizations, and many places. Data is manipulated and presented just for the for the review, which is actually a crime. It's equivalent to financial fraud, because a lot of guys take decision based on the data what you are providing. And schedule is built for reporting and not for management. And many times we think, oh, client is asking, so we produce the schedule. And whereas that's not the real reason, right? I mean, the real reason for having a schedule is for a better management of project. Now, unless otherwise, whatever I have, this is not addressed. That is the cultural necessities to facilitate schedule utilization. I mean, I have just marked a few things in red. Unless otherwise, everything is important, right? Unless otherwise, these things are not addressed in or to given an importance. And you might have the best scheduler, you might have hired the guy from the best institutes. Yeah, and I mean, we might claim to be a great organization, but when we come to an implementation of a project, will be a maybe a failure. So, frequent updation. It's not like done once and thrown and then it is in a dustbin. Then well thought out schedule management process, well thought out documented process. How schedule need to be updated, how it should, how the change need to be controlled, right? And the process discipline by all. Then accountability and ownership for scheduled data. I think it lies with the concerned control account managers. That is the guys who are giving that information. They need to be punished in case the data is wrong. Sorry, and not. I mean, sorry. And finally, the most important, I keep telling, is about an honesty, integrity in developing, managing, and maintaining and the schedule. If it is not, whatever we do, it will be a it will not yield the desired result. With this, we will close today's, or I'll open it for today's discussion. Yes. Last but not least, if there is no senior management or executive management participation buy-in in the entire process, right, the outcome will not be as it is designed. With this, I close the planning and scheduling session, and I'm just opening it for a discussion. We might have a discussion for next 4-5 minutes. Thank you. Any questions? people are there or they have left?
This is Avinash Tandon. You have given the last two slides, the real purpose of the scheduling, the planning and scheduling. But most of the projects, why then get late when we are having so many softwares and new experienced planners, so much
Often this goes directly on.
but the projects are not
Yeah.
able to come back to the times. Yes.
See, in my little bit of an experience, I mean, what I feel is, see, we have a planners, we have a schedulers, we have got a good tools, but where many organization doesn't, they don't focus on is to bring the right cultural environment and having the, what do we call it as having the right environment, enterprise environmental factor, right? Where, in many places, if there is a if there is a thing is going delay, so I mean, telling that is not encouraged, right? I mean, the guy who is selling the bad news is getting, he'll be fired, and it is not a very integrated approach. Planner many organization planner does the thing and gives the thing to the people, and there is no buy-in from the real stakeholders, right? I mean, especially the program manager. That's my view. I mean, unless otherwise, just cultural aspects are not taken into consideration. We might have an a large project. We might have a larger, I mean, very super duper software. Things may not work.
You have seen that in most of the countries, the major projects are delayed even from 1 year to maybe 5 to 6 years. Then why not something need to be done to take care of the from the management point of view or from the ministry point of view to monitor all those projects in a serious way?
Okay, so if you look at it in, do you follow MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementations data? I would request you to visit the website, and you can also look at the periodic report, whatever they are publishing it. See, the government is also taking up a lot of effort, in this aspect. And see, when a planning, I mean, it is, there are certain things. What he says is there are some, the main reasons for delays in large projects could be a right-of way and lack of availability of manpower and so many things, and over commitment or an over expectation. And government is putting a lot of effort to bring this, bring a professional approach to a project reviews. Right. What I understood is, and there is one, I don't remember the name. In India, if you look at it, Prime Minister reviews some of the major capital projects, progress in once in a month or once in a quarter, if I'm not wrong. Right. And there are a lot of effort happening in the, the government, and even in a Niti Aayog has set up a separate task force for improving the project management. Right, there is a paper available in the if you go to the Niti Aayog website, you'll be getting it. Right, and it's in a white paper, I think. Right. So there are multiple reasons. Right. Yeah, there are multiple reasons. It's a very, very complex thing. There are projects in India running for 20 years.
I really appreciate you are also concerned and what the thing is, but when we know 80 or 90% of the projects are getting delayed, the thing need to be built up in our methodology of planning and scheduling. Though now even raise resources, all kind of things are being put on the scheduling, but finally the results are not being obtained.
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
Sir,
if you go through, it's a very complex issue. Yeah.
Sir, you said that a data manipulation is prime for scheduler or planner, but most of the time in India, I'm saying on India, most of the time our higher management or senior management to manipulate the data to reflect the presentation like to maintain a schedule to with catch-up plan to viewing our senior or more higher management. So that time scheduler or planner what can do?
See, it's like this. First of all, if a manipulation of a data, right? If somebody says to manipulate a data, it is equivalent to a financial fraud in my view. I mean, in my organization, any one of my project manager is telling them to, manipulate the data and present. The guy who was told to manipulate the data or the guy who has manipulated the data, both will be fired. That's the seriousness with which we look at it. And in our, I mean, the way we look at it is like an, the controllers are the independent guys, right? I mean, they are a totally a neutral body. That's how we look at it. And even in a project review, if a project manager or even a vice president projects tells an information, right, to authenticate what he's telling is right or wrong, we just look at our controller who may be 10 level lower than him. We look at him and, I mean, what he says is taken as it is because the whole department is grown as a very, very neutral, right? Unless otherwise this culture comes from a top to bottom, this will not happen. And as a professional, it's not a professionally right also. If somebody says to manipulate something and do it, how can, as a professional, we can do it? We need to stand by that. It's not a professional ethics in my view.
Right, sir. You are absolutely right. But in India case, sir, most of the project, if you have seen, most of the project gone delayed. It is not as per schedule. In each and every schedule, maybe 1 year, 6 months, 2 months, maybe delayed. But our scheduler then can.
This scenario, I'm sorry, Prashant, I'm sorry to cut you short. This scenario, if you look at it, it is not only in India. I would say it is throughout the world. I would have probably, when we have, I'll send you some of the data of Consecutive Industry Institute of US. And if you look at it, the majority of the 80% of the mega projects are all cost overrun and time overrun, huge cost and time overrun, right? I mean, they're all managed by none less than a big companies like a Bechtel, Flord, AECOM, so on and so forth, right? I mean, there are, Bechtel's data itself, we see some of the mega projects, 98% of the mega projects are all, what do you call an time delay of some few months. I mean, I got the data, I can share it with you. See, it's a global phenomena. I mean, okay, having said that, how can we, whether it is controllable or non-controllable, we need to live with that. Yes, see, one should not live with that. I mean, that is a duty and responsibility, all of us as a professionals, right? I would say there's one single one-line solution. In my, as an example, if you look at it in my organization, it's very, very clear. Right reporting. If there is a delay, we can call a spade, and then we will address it. Unless otherwise, this approach is taken, it will keep continuing. Anywhere throughout the world, not only in India.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your suggestion, sir. Good suggestion.
Yeah, Shivaraman Rajendran, I think yes, I put a question. Cost and schedule, time overrun are common in world, but nobody wants to manipulate the data, planning data. This happens only in India because a few spineless people are sitting at top having their own agenda. Sorry, I cannot answer that. I mean, see, people are people throughout the world.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it need not be only in India, let me tell you. Yeah. Any other questions or any other suggestion? In India, there is no planning. Tijo, yes. Okay. Yeah, I will agree and I will disagree.
Hello, sir.
And Tijo, let me put it in this way. If you study some of the CII's data, right? Many large projects are highly I mean, the cost overrun, the time overrun, which is from 80% to 1,200% or 1,400%. They are all not Indian projects. They are all global projects, right? Right from Eurotunnel to Sydney Opera House to London Olympics to many.
This is Sridhar. I would like to add some answer to the question which is coming that it is like it's happening only in India, not in the other parts of the world. Actually, to answer Mr. Tandon's question, like lack of belongingness is a factor. Lack of belongingness to the system or to the company or to the project is one of the factors which is not quantified by planning terms, which is causing the majority of the failures in the project. There is no single project in the world which has got some sort of the cost or schedule overrun. All are manipulated data only. So when we are having, being Indian, if we are having a doubt in India's planning, then we should go and work in some other countries' planning, like at least 5-6 years, first 5-6 years and 5-6 countries. We have to work, and then only we can make a comment like this, like it's happening only in India. It's happening all over the world, because I am being involved in many of the capital projects getting monitored by the Ministry of India and directly by PMO, as Mr. Shankar has told. There is a rugged mechanism available in the country for controlling all the government-sponsored capital projects. There is no doubt about that. But the sense of belongingness of the individual is like, it's like a chain, which is the project is nothing but a series of pulleys getting run by chain. Even if there is a failure in one of the rings, it's going to cause a stall in all the gears. So this is what is to be seen at. Thank you.
The thing is, I just want to share for the knowledge of all concerned that I had a credit of completing 14,000 crores worth of a job in 2006 costing, which was global standard was 50 months, and I had a credit of completing it 46 months of Indian Oil project in Panipat. I was working with Engineers India Limited. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say EIL is one of the example for a very professional, thorough project management in the country. I mean, India has got few good companies. It's not that India has got very bad companies, right? I have got a great respect for EIL. Anyway, yeah. Now I think with this.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tandon has told is correct. We cannot comment like India doesn't have a standard planning mechanism. That's what I meant to say.
No, the thing is,
they should have. Understand is my view. Yeah.
This was the project.
I think it's a time to close session.
Just a last minute.
Last one. Last question.
Decided we have to set a global benchmark. That was the first day. That was the target, and it was completed accordingly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, last one more question.
Yeah, Parani. Yeah, with this we will close it. Yeah, please, Parani. Go ahead.
Here, sir, whatever we are talking about, the planner, integrity, the management, everything. But I would like to say, the first, if you see in that the tender schedule, there is a competition, and people are bidding for low cost and the time constraint schedule. And when we are going for the execution, obviously planners are under pressure to meet the schedule, though it is not practically possible. So how we can address this issue? Because the issue is not in the execution. The issue starts from the tendering stage itself.
See, it's like this, you won't get a business unless otherwise, you are very aggressive, right? See, the answer to this is, okay, but in marketing guys, they generally over promise, right? Now, the challenge for the rest of the team is, if you don't over-promise or oversell yourself, you will not get a project also. Now, after that, how the whole approach in an organization should be how do you provide a customer delight. That is, even with a very, very, over-promised way you have taken a project, how efficiently you can deliver a project within the thing, right? I mean, there is no single solution for it. Otherwise, you may not even be able to even get a project. If you get a project within that, then you should be able to, plan yourself to deliver within the timeline. Otherwise, there is also, you can, if you open up honestly to a client and challenging him that within the time you will not be able to do it. I think many clients will be willing to listen to that also, and mostly entrepreneurs rather than the professionals or people with the entrepreneurial mindset other than a professional mindset.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Actually, the point actually I was trying to emphasize here is that it is not only the planner's issue. I would say the first place, the client should set the proper target. They must be having their own PMC team. The PMC team should have the reasonable timeline. And if somebody is overcommitting, then in the bidding stage itself, there should be a question and how you are going to accomplish the project finish and how you are. So that level onwards it start. So my point is it is a mistake from client side, I would say, rather than the execution stage. Many people to be organized.
This discussion is never ending. Okay. So I think what we should do is that one-to-one we can discuss it. Okay. It's a never-ending discussion. I'll tell you. Right. I think you will have all our contact details and all. I think we can have a one-to-one discussion. With this, if anybody is not registered and send their email and join the today's session, I request all of them to please share your email ID to an admin@asindia.org. With this, I thank everybody for your patient hearing. And I think in this session, slightly there was some technical issues in terms of voice and other things. It looks like we will take care of it in the next session. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Many thank you, sir.